After the news, Don Johnson stars as San Francisco's Chief of Police, Nash Bridges, investigating a new case in 40 minutes here on Carlton.
From ITN, News at 10 with Trevor McDonald.
Back on his soapbox, Major confirms the date in May. A shock for the Tories from the Sun tonight. A family's desperate battle to get out of Albania. And Irish eyes smiling on the Queen Mother. Good evening. The Prime Minister confirmed today that the general election will be on May the 1st and set off immediately on what will be one of the longest election campaigns this century. Mr. Major took his soapbox to Luton, where he said he had no doubt that the ordinary people of Britain would vote the Conservatives back to power. Tony Blair talked of a national renewal under Labour and also hit the campaign trail in Gloucester. Tonight, the Sun newspaper, which claimed to have won the 1992 election for the Tories, announced it's backing Mr. Blair. Here's our political editor, Michael Brunson.
The day began firmly in Mr. Major's grip. Calling the election and seeing the Queen is very much a Prime Minister's personal decision, though Mr. Major cut it pretty fine, leaving himself just 3.5 minutes after Cabinet to get to the palace, only, as we saw from the ITN helicopter, to run straight into a traffic jam. Eventually, Mr. Major made it through the palace gates and into the courtyard a minute behind schedule for his audience at 11:30. A little earlier, the Cabinet had also spilled out into Downing Street, the party chairman giving the thumbs up, and ministers apparently certain of victory.
Yeah. Why are you going to win?
Because we deserve to, because Britain's never been better than it is today, and we've worked together.
Back from the palace, and with the Queen and Cabinet having approved the date, the Prime Minister finally announced it.
Good morning. I'd like to formally confirm that I've seen Her Majesty the Queen this morning and sought her permission for a dissolution of Parliament and a general election on the 1st of May. Over the last 18 years, we've seen a very dramatic change in the lifestyle of people in this country. There's been a revolution in choice, in opportunity, and in living standards. At the general election, there's a choice between the party that has brought that revolution about and the two parties that have opposed almost every single aspect of those changes. And I believe this election is winnable. Not only do I think it's winnable, I think I'm going to win this election, and so are the Conservative Party.
Within a couple of hours came a crucial endorsement. Differences buried, Lady Thatcher did her bit.
I don't expect to see Prime Minister Blair. Mr. Blair is different from Prime Minister Blair. I'm fighting for Prime Minister Major.
But a general election campaign is a very fast-moving thing, and tonight, in a move which will privately shake many Tories, the Sun newspaper, for whom Lady Thatcher could do no wrong, has endorsed Tony Blair. This the paper which claimed after the 92 campaign it was the Sun what won it, after it had slammed into Neil Kinnock and Labour. So, why the change of heart this time?
We are supporting Mr. Blair because we see him as a dynamic, exciting, energetic new leader for this country. Quite frankly, we think the Tories are tired out and incapable of governing.
One of the Conservative campaign team moved quickly to play the Sun's endorsement down.
Sun wrote him off, of course, at the last leadership election, said that John Redwood should take over. Well, they were pretty, they were marked as being pretty wrong then. I know they think they was what won it in 1992, but frankly, I think John Major won the 92 election. I think we'll see him do the same this time round.
But as Tony Blair campaigned in Gloucester this evening, which is precisely the sort of marginal seat Labour must win for an overall majority, there was no hiding the delight of the Labour camp. Earlier in London, Mr. Blair had picked up Mr. Major's point in Downing Street about the Conservative record over the past 18 years.
This campaign is going to be about the condition of Britain now and the future of Britain, that Britain can be better than this. And it'll be about how the Conservative Party have let people down, have broken their promises, and about how a new and revitalised Labour Party can get this country going, can make this country better, have better schools, better hospitals, less violent crime in our streets, give us the jobs and industry of the future. So, the longer it goes on, in one sense for us, we can get our case across to people even better.
Paddy Ashdown was campaigning in the southwest, and at his home later had this reaction to the long campaign ahead.
It will be a campaign which will turn people off in droves if we go on doing what we've done between the Tories and Labour. A shouting match, posters, insults, personality attacks. Let's get rid of that. I tell you straight, the Liberal Democrats will have nothing to do with it. We will not do this. If we're attacked, of course we'll respond. But we will try and concentrate on the issues.
In Scotland, the SNP were delighted that the Prime Minister, in his opening declaration of the campaign in London, had again flagged up devolution as a major election issue.
And for John Major to say the Constitution was going to dominate the campaign while he's playing on away and he's playing on our home ground. I mean, on the Constitution, we've got the best, the strongest policy, independence, equality for Scotland. No other party can compete with that.
So what's set to be the longest campaign in recent British general election history is underway. And with the Prime Minister immediately honouring his pledge to be, as he's put it, in the middle of the crowd, north, south, east and west. Out once more came that symbol of his '92 campaign, the soapbox. And the place where he chose to climb back on it was the same highly marginal constituency of Luton South, and where today, again as 5 years ago, a noisy reception awaited him.
The last time I came to Luton, we had a reception just like this, and 3 weeks later, we won both the Luton seats and the general election.
But this time, say the opposition parties, Mr Major is in a far weaker position. Labour believe that a long campaign is bound to expose deep divisions in the Tory party. The Liberal Democrats, the SNP and Plaid Cymru say the Prime Minister is ignoring the strong demand for power to be moved away from London. John Major, though, is certain that by taking his campaign directly to the people like this, that things will turn his way. Michael Brunson, News at 10, Westminster.
So Mr Major has opted for a long 6.5-week election campaign. But what are the advantages and the pitfalls of that strategy, and what are the issues in which the contest will be decided? Here's our political correspondent, Hugh Pym.
Up and down the country in the marginal seats, the political activists are already sorting the leaflets and licking the envelopes. But some voters are distinctly unimpressed by the prospect of weeks of politicking and canvassing.
We already know what we're going to do. We're not going to be swayed by what they're going to say now. It's not going to make any difference whatsoever.
No, I can't cope with 6 weeks of campaigning, but I suppose we have to all turn the television off.
The countdown to the election goes like this. Parliament will be adjourned on Friday for a long Easter recess. The week after Easter, the parties launch their election manifestos. Parliament will be dissolved on or before April the 8th, when formal campaigning is expected to begin. Nominations for candidates close a week later. Voting's on May the 1st for both the general and English local elections. So during that time, will there be the sort of TV debate pioneered by the Americans with Kennedy and Nixon in 1960? The problem is how to bring the three main party leaders together. The Liberal Democrats will go to court to ensure they're included in programmes featuring a major Blair confrontation.
They would have to argue that the broadcasting arrangements were so unfair that they did not show due impartiality. That is the test that would be applied.
The key issues in the election will be tax, education, health, law and order, Europe and devolution, though for voters some are more important than others.
The two sleepers, if you will, are taxation and Europe. Those are the two issues that are not high in the polls, but will make an impact because of those people who are concerned about them. They're concerned a great deal about them, and they care very much about these issues.
And then there are the opinion polls. Taking a poll of polls, the average of 6 so far this month, the Conservatives were on 29%, Labour 52%, and the Lib Dems 13%. So faced with that deficit, it's not surprising that Conservative Central Office, given the nod from Mr Major, have planned for a long campaign.
The idea of having a long period of time to try to claw back Labour's lead, which even the Conservatives are admitting is there, is something that he feels can do him nothing but good. And any damage that's done to the party, any risk that there might be, is really irrelevant in the circumstances.
Not since 1945, when Winston Churchill was Prime Minister, has there been such a long election campaign. But MPs will start planning their own constituency battles as they tidy up their business in the Commons over the next few days. Hugh Pym, News at 10, Westminster.
We're joined again from Westminster now by our political editor, Michael Brunson. Michael, let's go first to the question of the Sun. How critical might that support be?
I don't think it'll be in any way decisive, but you have to remember that quite a lot of Tories do read The Sun, so it's obviously going to have some impact. Now, you won't be surprised to hear the Central Office have been playing it down. They say there's a cruel irony in the fact that a paper which has been asking Mr. Major to be tough on Europe is now prepared to support Mr. Blair, who would sign up for things like the social chapter in Europe. The Sun, of course, say that they will cross-examine Mr. Blair on the Europe issue very closely.
Paddy Ashdown talks about a long and dirty campaign. Likely?
Well, I think today we've seen that they've been concentrating on the issues, and above all, it's concentrated around the issue of the long record, the 18 years of the Tory record, and then the differing visions that all the parties have of where you go from there. So today it rather has been issue-centred.
What about the issue of Europe and taxation, as you heard in that report by Hugh Pym?
Yes, I agreed with both what Hugh Pym and Bob Worcester were saying there. I think that Europe is going to emerge as an issue, obviously because of the differences in the Tory party. Everyone knows about them, and we shall see the candidates are going to put it in their election addresses. But there is one extra one, and that is this feeling of time for a change. And the Labour and the Liberal Democrats and the others very decisively picking up on this idea of change, a totally different type of change, they say.